Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is out.
And the most adventure I was expecting was a fuck or two.
Here we go. And it's being called one of the best immersive RPGs ever. But its story picks up just 2 days after the ending of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. And many important characters are returning from the first one. So if you haven't played the first one, or if you played it years ago and don't remember much but you want to jump into the second one, you are in the right place. In this video, I'm going to recap the full story of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 with everything that you need to know to play the KCD 2. First, I will show you the game's real world location back then as well as today. Then I will share a brief history of the events leading up to the start of Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Finally, I will summarize the complete story and introduce the key characters you need to know before playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I did lots of research for this video. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Let's start with location. Playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, we learned that the events of KCD 1 and KCD 2 happened in one of Holy Roman Empire's kingdoms named Bohemia. But where is Bohemia? It doesn't exist today. We also learned that the events happened in 1403 AD. So it's in Bohemia in the year 1403 AD. If we look at Europe's map in the year 1403 AD, we can see that Bohemia is right here inside Roman Empire and neighboring Hungary. And after years of war and geopolitical conflicts, a big part of that, including its capital Prague, turned into nowadays Czechia or Czech Republic, that lays right here inside Bohemia. So now we know that it's somewhere in Czech Republic. But where inside Czech Republic? Let's take a look at KCD1's map. There are 13 cities or towns or smaller villages in this map. For example, we have Skalitz at the top left corner. Here we have Talmberg, Ujits, Sasau, and down here the biggest city, Rattay. And this big river across the map. So, do you think these places exist today? Actually, they do. If we go to Europe's map and zoom into Czechia, on the southeast side of its capital Prague, we can find this region with similar places as the ones in KCD1 map. Like this is Skalitz, Sasau, Rattay, and this long river here with Sasau river. Now if we zoom out in the map, we can see how small is this region in real world. At the end of this video, I will show you the real world location of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's location without any spoiler, so keep watching. So this was KCD1's real world location. Now to the history part. I would like to keep this really short, but I think I owe some history here. Well, mostly because it's a historic game. So far we know that the game happens in the year 1403 AD. But what happened before that led to the events of the game? In the beginning, the game very briefly tells us that there was a King Charles IV, King of Bohemia, and he was actually Emperor of Holy Roman Empire. Sounds like he was a well-respected king, and his kingdom progressed a lot during his time. He dies, his lazy drunkard son, Wenceslaus, becomes the king, and the new king's half-brother Sigismund attacks Wenceslaus' kingdom, and the game starts. But they don't show Wenceslaus in the game at all, and they show Sigismund very briefly in the beginning, although everything is happening because of them and there are many mentions of them in the game, as Sigismund being the main enemy in the game. So let me tell you who's King Charles, Wenceslaus and Sigismund in the context of this game. Disclaimer: there are much more history about these guys, but I'll just focus on what you need to know for this game. Charles IV became king of Bohemia in 1346 AD, and 9 years later in 1355 he also became the Holy Roman Emperor. He had 4 wives and 13 children. 2 of his sons, Wenceslaus and Sigismund, are connected to events of the Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. When Charles IV died in 1378, his older son Wenceslaus became king of Bohemia. Meanwhile, Sigismund had been sent to Hungary as a child to be educated at the Hungarian royal court. Hungary is next to Bohemia. At this time, Hungary's king was Louis I, also known as Louis the Great or Louis of Hungary. He didn't have a son, so when he died in 1382, his daughter Mary became Queen of Hungary. In 1385, Sigismund married Queen Mary, and after some conflict, Sigismund became king of Hungary together with Mary in 1385. When Mary died in 1395, Sigismund became the sole and only ruler of Hungary. Later, Sigismund wanted to take control of Bohemia too, and some Bohemian nobles who called themselves League of Lords didn't like Wenceslaus as their king, not only because he was a lazy bad king, he was even elected to become the Holy Roman Emperor on top of being king of Bohemia, but he refused to show up to his own coronation. So in 1402, 1 year before our game starts, they kidnapped Wenceslaus and locked him up. But still some nobles stayed loyal to Wenceslaus, not because he was a great king, but out of respect for his father Charles IV. So in 1403, when our game starts, Sigismund started attacking Bohemia. To attack Bohemia, he hired mercenaries who were basically thieves and hired fighters, and in the game they mostly had black armors. Besides mercenaries, he also hires Cumans. The Cumans, who appear often in the game with these special armors and masks, were nomadic Turkic people who had moved into Hungary long before 1403. Once upon a time in the 11th century, they were ruling a vast region from Ukraine to Kazakhstan, and then Mongols attacked them in the 13th century, so some of them fled and became refugees in the Hungary. Then many kings, including Sigismund, hired them in their wars. They were very skilled fighters, especially on horseback, and they spoke Turkic language.
Chakas, Kartatam, Keresni, Valamit.
So in the game they are fighting for Sigismund, attacking Bohemia, and obviously they are our enemies. And this was a compact history of what happened that led to the events of the game and some of the characters. So far we learned about the map and location of the game and a short history. Now let's dive into the game itself and its summary. And while I'm covering game's story, I'll introduce you all the characters that you need to know to play KCD2. Now with King Wenceslaus being captured by his half-brother Sigismund and Sigismund's army of mercenaries and Cumans invading Bohemia, while some nobles siding with Sigismund who are called League of Lords and others remain loyal to Wenceslaus, the game starts in the quiet mining town of Skalitz, where we meet Henry, the character we play as. Henry is the son of the local blacksmith Martin, or at least that's what he believes, and his caring mother, who's actually an unnamed character. Henry lives a simple life, helping his father, goofing around with his friends Fritz, Matthew and Matthias, and dating Bianca, a barmaid at the Skalitz Tavern. But another girl shows up too, named Theresa. She seems interested in Henry as well, and it turns out...
Fine lass, eh?
Well, the feelings are mutual. At the beginning of the game, Henry is helping his father forge a special sword for Sir Radzig Kobyla, the Lord of Skalitz and the noble loyal to King Wenceslas. As they almost finish the sword, Radzig visits the forge, accompanied by a mysterious nobleman named Istvan Toth, who appeared to be Sir Radzig's friend. Radzig departs, leaving Henry and Martin to finish the sword, but disaster strikes. Skalitz is attacked by Sigismund's army, led by Sir Markfart von Aulitz.
I am Sir Markvart von Aulitz.
Markfart von Aulitz, who is a German knight in Sigismund's service. The town is burned and Henry witnesses his parents' brutal murder by Aulitz and his men. Although Sir Radzig and some town people manage to shelter inside the castle, Henry is too late to make it inside the castle. Running away from the attack, Henry manages to save Theresa, who is being brutally attacked by Cumans in her house. Henry makes it to Talmberg, a nearby castle that belongs to Sir Divish and his wife Lady Stephanie, a loyalist to Wenceslas. Divish is cautious and refuses to send aid to Skalitz and orders everyone to remain inside the castle. One night from the battlements, they see Sir Radzig fleeing from Skalitz with some refugees towards Rattay.
We were able to sneak out right under their noses. The Lord be praised. We'll march to Rattay. It's only a short way and there we'll have a better chance of defense and enough room for all of these people. If Sigismund should come, better bend your knee, Divish. There's no point dying in a battle that's futile.
I can't leave my mother and father. I won't leave their corpses rotting in the street. I'll join you once I've taken care of them.
Don't even think of going back there, you donkey!
Later on, Henry sneaks out of Talmberg to return to Skalitz and bury his parents.
I'll find the one who did this to you.
There we meet Mott for the first time, who's Henry's dog. Then Henry is attacked by bandits or mercenaries. They beat him up and steal the special sword that is really important to Henry because it was the last sword he and his father were making together. Henry barely survives, rescued by Theresa, and is taken to Rattay by her and her uncle Miller Peshek. Rattay is the largest city in the game and is ruled by Sir Hanush, the acting lord and distant relative of the rightful lord Sir Hans Capon, both loyal to Wenceslas. Henry goes to Rattay Castle where he meets Sir Hanush, Hans and Sir Radzig, who's there gathering forces against Sigismund's army. Henry insists that he wants to go under Radzig's service, especially because he wants to take back his father's last sword. Looking at Henry as a peasant, everyone is against the idea.
Fled from the enemy, disobeyed your orders, duped Sir Divish, lost your sword, put Sir Robard in danger with his actions, and now he wants a promotion.
Sir Capon's right.
But Sir Radzig backs him up and tells him go get trained under Captain Bernard, who is the grumpy but skilled commander of the Rattay Guard. He starts his training under Captain Bernard, learning sword fighting and archery. Meanwhile, Henry reconnects with old friends Fritz and Matthew, helping them and other Skalitz refugees rebuild their lives. He also becomes closer to Theresa, and eventually they start dating. The young Sir Hans Capon is arrogant and still mean to Henry. One night they get into a bar fight and Sir Hanush catches them fighting. He makes them go hunting together the next day. During hunting, Hans is captured by some Cumans, but Henry saves his life and brings him back to Rattay. So this makes them very close to each other and they become friends and make lots of memories together. together. And as a reward for saving Hans Capon's life, Sir Hanush rewards him with a horse named Pebble. Later, a raid on a stud farm happens in Neuhof and Henry joins the investigation. Following the leads about who is behind the attack, he goes to the town of Ujitz, where he meets Father Godwin. Father Godwin is a sort of mysterious but cool priest with sword fighting skills and apparently a warrior in the past. They form a strong bond while chasing down leads about the attack. The trail leads Henry to Przybyslavitz, a remote village apparently occupied by mercenaries and Cumans. Henry disguises himself as a Cuman and infiltrates the camp and identifies key figures. The thug who stole his sword named Ront. Henry returns with an army and attacks the camp. He kills Ront, but the sword remains missing and Skalitz is not there. Evidence at the camp suggests a nobleman is financing the enemy forces. More investigation leads Henry to a bandit fortress south of Sassa called Vranik, where he again infiltrates as a bandit. There he meets Eric, a commander in a very distinct white armor, and learns the true mastermind is none other than Istvan Toth, who we saw in the beginning of the game with Sir Radzig, but looks like he's betraying them, and he was behind the attack on Skalitz. He also has Henry's father's last sword, and the biggest revelation for Henry.
Your father, your real father, is alive. You even know him. It's your liege lord, Radzig Kobyla.
Istvan tells Henry that Martin the blacksmith is not his real father. Sir Radzig is. Apparently, before Henry's mother marries Martin, she was dating Sir Radzig and they had Henry, but they couldn't marry because Sir Radzig was a nobleman and she was not. So Martin the blacksmith came along and took care of both of them. He raised Henry as his own son and Henry loved him as his own father. Henry still sees Martin as his father, but the important fact is that Henry has noble blood that is really important in the politics of Bohemia. Henry escapes the fortress and informs Sir Radzig and Hanush about what's going on there. The Bohemian lords unite their forces, including Sir Divish's soldiers from Talmberg, and attack Vranik. They take over Vranik, but they discover that it was all a trap. While they were attacking Vranik, Istvan moved his forces to seize Talmberg, taking Lady Stephanie and other locals as hostage. And when the lords had a quick attack, Sir Radzig is taken as hostage too. The kingdom's forces lay siege to Talmberg but are stalled by the hostages. They try to rescue the hostages, which fails, and Hans Capon is shot in the back. Fortunately, they intercept Istvan's reinforcement army out of the castle and capture Eric. Eric is valuable to Istvan. Later, they attack the castle and break in, but Istvan uses the hostages to escape with Eric and takes Martin's last sword. With Istvan and Eric gone and hostages released, they all go back to Rattay castle. At the end of the game, we see a Margrave Jobs, who is the nephew of Charles IV, so Sigismund's and Wenceslaus' cousin. He and his brother Progo were Margraves of Moravia, and here he is accompanied by a member of his council, John II of Liechtenstein. Jobs is here to meet with the lords loyal to Wenceslaus. Apparently, he originally supported Sigismund against Bohemia, but now he wants an end to this war. He reveals an interesting story. According to him, Wenceslaus himself invited Sigismund to Bohemia to restore order. So basically, he explained that when Wenceslaus was the king of Bohemia, all he wanted was drinking, women, and hunting. He was even elected as the Holy Emperor of Roman Empire, and all he had to do was to go to Rome to get crowned by Pope. Well, because he was supposed to become the Holy Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. But he refused to attend his coronation. Because of this, Sigismund just lost his patience, and with the support of the League of Lords, a group of nobles who had turned against Wenceslaus, he decided to abduct Wenceslaus and Jobst's brother Prokop with apparently good intention to drag Wenceslaus to Rome and make him emperor and put an end to all the dramas in the kingdom. But things got out of control and turned chaotic. The League of Lords, once backing Sigismund, were now against him, and Sigismund was losing ground. Jobst tells them that he has negotiated an alliance of Hungarian bishop and the Polish and Czech nobility against Sigismund to support Wenceslaus as king. He explains that he has organized an ongoing revolt against Sigismund in Hungary, Sigismund's own kingdom. He says he needs the support of League of Lords, especially one of its key members, Otto von Bergo. The League needs to see that the Bohemian lords are united behind Wenceslaus, so they'll back them against Sigismund. But since Jobst himself is not on good terms with the League, someone else from Bohemia must go and speak to them. Sir Hans Capon volunteers to go to Bergo's castle, Trotsky, and talk to him about turning against Sigismund. He asks for Henry to go with him, and Henry is still seeking revenge for his parents and taking back his father's, or actually his stepfather's, sword. He is more than willing to join. All the lords agree to send them to talk, or at least evaluate the situation with the League of Lords. So Henry, Hans Capon, and their guards set out to meet Bergo at Trotsky Castle, and that was the end of the game. So this was the full game's story summary for KCD1. I already introduced you all the characters that you need to know to play KCD2, and here is a summary of all the characters that are going to come back or being mentioned repeatedly in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Okay, now to the final and the bonus part. Where is KCD2's map against KCD1? At the end of the game, when Henry and Hans Capon are leaving towards Trotsky, we see that they are leaving from here, east side of the map, and it's a 3 days ride on a horse. Now looking at the map and doing some research, I found out that the KCD2's events are going to happen in these two locations inside Czech Republic. Why these two locations and how does it happen? You need to play the game or watch me playing KCD2. Thank you so much for watching this video. I did lots of research for this video. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.